As soon as I get off the plane and I'm taking the ride back home, I'm like, oh man, like wherever I was, it was awesome. But like the Boston area is like really special because it's home, and I think it really is just like a really unique city and unique area. I think I don't know where you grew up, but I feel like a lot of people that come visit here are like, oh wow, like it's actually pretty cool here.
I'm from Mississippi. I'm from the deep south. So when I first got here, we got here back in 23, July of 23. So when I first got here, we drove. So we were coming up through South Boston by the Garden.
Yeah.
And just the amount of, I've never seen this many people on a highway before. It was crazy. Like I've never seen traffic get backed up, until I came here. And I was thinking to myself, like, I'm gonna hurt somebody because I'm used to in Mississippi. If we want to go to Walmart, it's a 5-minute drive.
Yeah.
If we want to get to the mall, 10-minute drive. Here, if I want to go down the street, depending on what time of the day it is, it could be 45 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be you need to cancel your plans.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, they didn't think I would do it, but I did it. Really having it, really winning. Was times that I thought I'd forever be sinning and spending whatever to stand on the business. But God bless the game, did it all but a sinning. All the shots they let off, but they ain't hitting. All the shots we let off, they ain't mentioned was hitting. Go ask why he's fighting them living. Never change, I'm the same as just in me. The only thing changes the paper my video. Can't forget about the diamonds and chains on my pendant was starving, but now we eat steak for a living. If we ever fell out, you was fake or we can switch sides, don't be standing up. But yet I'm the biggest, ain't changing my click rep to 6 disrespect and get put in that dick.
I won't let them change me. I'll remain.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Basement Club Podcast. For the ones who don't know, I'm your host with the most, Staff Sergeant Philip Taylor. Right now, who we got stopping through the clubhouse today? Massachusetts native, works here on Hanscom, was a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout, which was interesting to find out. Make some noise for my man, Mr. Andrew Knight. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. Question. I like to ask all my guests these questions. Whenever you hear, some of the things that you've done in the past, or maybe if it was like accomplishments and things like that, do you cringe a little bit? Like, what's the thought process when you hear things like that?
I feel like it can be easy to feel like something like that is cringeworthy. For a lot of people that are accomplished, I think the achievements that they have, it's like a byproduct of the things that they're doing. Sure. It's not necessarily like I want to do this because I want this award. Obviously that a lot of people do pursue that, but hearing it from a different perspective, it can be like, wow, I didn't work hard on this project so that I can win an award.
Right.
So from that perspective, it can be like, oh, like that's kind of funny.
Right.
So I can understand that. Yeah.
So how was it? You're from Medford, local guy. How was it for a young Andrew growing up here?
I feel like I was blessed with a good childhood. I liked Medford. After I graduated college, I lived at home for a couple of years just saving money.
Yeah.
I like the Boston area. I think it's funny. I was in LA a couple of weeks ago, and anytime I travel, I'm like, there's no place like home.
Right.
Like as soon as I get off the plane and I'm taking the ride back home, I'm like, oh man, like wherever I was, it was awesome. But like the Boston area is like really special because it's home, and I think it really is just like a really unique city and unique area. I think I don't know where you grew up, but I feel like a lot of people that come visit here are like, oh wow, like it's actually pretty cool here.
I'm from Mississippi. I'm from the deep south. So when I first got here, we got here back in 23, July of 23. So when I first got here, we drove. So we were coming up through South Boston by the Garden.
Yeah. And
just the amount of, I've never seen this many people on a highway before. It was crazy. Like I've never seen traffic get backed up, until I came here. And I was thinking to myself, like, I'm gonna hurt somebody because I'm used to in Mississippi. If we want to go to Walmart, it's a 5-minute drive.
Yeah.
If we want to get to the mall, 10-minute drive. Here, if I want to go down the street, depending on what time of the day it is, it could be 45 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be you need to cancel your plans.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, Look, man.
The traffic out here is crazy, and the time I realized how bad it was compared to other parts of the country is you start to meet people from other places,
Yeah.
and if you ask them how far something is, they'll give you a distance.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Oh yeah, the grocery store, like that's 3 miles."
Yeah.
Here it doesn't matter what
Right.
the distance is because you can spend 20 minutes stuck in traffic on one street. You ask how far something is, everybody gives you a time. They'll give you the no traffic time and the traffic time.
Yo, I go to Burlington just to go to Wegmans or something like
Yeah.
that. It's like, what, 4 or 5 miles away. 20 minutes, 35, 40. I'm like, look, man, to hell with that. But I do want to ask you this question. So, as far as like extracurricular activities, you know, you went to high school here. You know, what were some of the things that you did to kind of keep yourself out of trouble, you know, to keep yourself busy? Like, what were some of the hobbies that you had growing up?
Well, as you mentioned, I was a Boy Scout, so
Mhm.
that took up a lot of my time. I did sports here and there, nothing super competitive. Like
Yeah.
I didn't play AAU or anything like that, but I played like town soccer,
Right.
just like a lot of pickup basketball with my friends. I lived like a minute and a half walk from a basketball court, so
Got it,
summer
got it.
times and stuff like
Mhm.
just go and play basketball there all the time. So regular kid stuff. I feel like nothing crazy. Trying to keep my head in the books, you know, keep the grades up.
Right. So you graduate high school. What made you want to go? Because you went to Pace University.
Yeah, correct.
What made you want to stay on the East Coast, you know, in contrast of going to somewhere like LA, Texas, or wherever? Like,
Yeah.
what made you want to stay close to home?
So my initial thing that closed the bubble was like, if I had an emergency,
Yeah,
I wanted to be able to drive home.
makes sense.
Or if my family had an emergency, I wanted to be able to get on the road and go home. I don't want to rely on a flight
Yep.
or anything like that. And that also gets expensive too, which is unfortunate. You know, my roommate freshman year lived in San Diego.
Ooh.
So when he goes home for the holidays, like his plane ticket's like 5 times as much as it should cost. It's like $800 round trip, and you might only be home for like 4 days or something. So stuff like that, you know, that's too bad. So I just wanted it to be convenient. So I feel like it was like as far down south as like DC. I'm like that's about as long as I'll sit in the car. Most of the schools I looked at were actually in the Boston area. I applied to like 13, 14 schools or something.
Yeah.
And I'd say that like 4 of them weren't in Massachusetts.
Got it.
So the majority of them were in Massachusetts.
How was it at Pace? Because before I met you, I didn't even know Pace University existed.
Yeah.
So how was it going there? You know, especially being in a place like New York. Like, what was it like? What was your college experience?
I feel like it was very interesting because I didn't feel like a college student when I was there. Like
Yeah.
maybe my first year and a half, because you're living in the dorms
Yep.
and they don't really have a campus, so that already, you know, like makes it feel different. The way that Pace is set up, it's located in Lower Manhattan in the financial district, like right at the base of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
Across from City Hall Park is where their main building is. And that's where like the gym is, the cafeteria, the library, most of the classrooms. And then in that neighborhood, like they'll have like one building over here that's a freshman dorm, and a building over here that has, you know, like the professor's offices, and this building might be the art building. So you might not even like be in some of the other buildings. Like
Right.
when I took like a photography class, I'm like, okay, I gotta go to this random building I've never seen or been to before. So yeah, that already was kind of interesting. And then as I progressed through college later on, you know, once I got a job and stuff, it was like I was spending more time working and running around New York City than I was being a college student.
Right.
So I feel like I had a unique college experience in that sense, where it was like, you know, I was only having college classes like 2 days a week, but I might be working like 4 days a week.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I was like flipped. It was like I was like a full-time New Yorker and part-time college student. But it was fun, man. It was fun. That's a crazy city. My dad's from Brooklyn, so I was already familiar with New York. You know, we'd go down there a lot growing up. So that was good. Like it wasn't overwhelming for me moving there. I'm like, okay, it's nothing new. So I got to explore a lot. Obviously, living there, you get to be intimately involved with the place.
So I want to rewind a little bit. So going back to your time in the Boy Scouts,
Mm-hmm.
what influenced you to go that route? Did you have parents in the military? Like, what was the driving force behind it?
To be honest, I joined Boy Scouts just because I wanted to go camping.
Okay.
That was that's how
All
it
right.
started. That's how it started.
All
Because I
right.
originally started as a Cub Scout, and that was in the fourth grade. So I'm still pretty young. Like I'm
Yeah.
not like wrapping my mind around
Right,
like
right, right.
the curriculum of scouting and where it might take you later on in the resume building. I'm like, man, I just want to go get in the tent and be in the woods. That was really all it was. And so I asked my parents, like, I want to go camping. I want to go camping. They're like, all right, like we can get you involved in Boy Scouts. Um, and as I stuck with it, that's where like, you know, some of the more serious parts started to catch on. Where
Yeah.
you know, rise up the ranks. I earned my Eagle Scout eventually. I mean, still the camping was always my favorite part of it.
Of course.
Even
right,
as
yeah.
I got older, still the camping was the best part of it, and I got to go on some really cool trips as a Boy Scout. But yeah, no, I think it was an interesting experience because it's what you make of it, really. Like some people go on to do like crazy things with the Boy Scouts. You can go on like sailing trips in the Bahamas or something, or it can just be your Monday evening extracurricular thing where you go to the church and you know, help a 12-year-old learn how to tie a knot.
Right.
And it can be anywhere in between. So it's really what you make of it.
So you graduate from college. You say you moved back to Massachusetts for a little bit. What were you doing in that time period between graduating college and moving back to Massachusetts? What were your headspace at, or what were you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, well, I had came, so where I work now, I had a tentative job offer for when I graduated college.
Yep.
So I had a pretty good idea that I was going to come back here and work on base as a program manager.
Yeah.
I always joke that there's an alternate universe where I stayed in New York and never actually came back.
Yeah.
Because at the time when I was a senior in college, I was working in luxury retail, and I was like they were looking at promoting me, and I was like, like this might be interesting to pursue. But I didn't think that it was the right choice, but I joked that I'm like, there is a universe where I'm like, you know what, program management, the 9 to 5, like I'll save that for later in life. And I stayed in New York and kept working there after college. But yeah, so I had my job offer, and I actually worked at the same company. It's called Macaj.
Yep.
They make high-end outerwear. I joke that they're like the baby of Canada Goose and Montclair, because a lot of people aren't familiar with Macaj as a brand.
Right.
So I worked at their location in downtown Boston in the Prudential Center for like 2 months until I started here.
Yeah.
Just so I wasn't doing nothing and could still make some money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I transitioned here. Coming back home wasn't too hard. You know, my parents kept my bedroom.
Nice.
My mom always says that. She's like, I'm never gonna touch your room if you ever want to come home. Like,
must be nice,
it's
man.
always there for you. Yeah.
Yo, when I left, word life. When I left, my mom changed everything. Changed my bed out, changed all the dressers. My clothes are going in the garage.
Yeah.
She was like, "You cannot come back here." I was like, "Okay, bet."
It's funny. That's how my dad is. He's like, so when are you gonna take all this stuff that's in your bedroom right now? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you left all this stuff in here. When are you gonna get rid of it? He's like, this shit is staying there. I was like, but it's my room.
It's crazy.
That's my timeshare.
Okay. All right. So you come back, you're working, you know, there's always an awkward transition period between when you graduate in college, you're trying to figure out what you wanted to do. I know you said you were working in high-end retail before you transitioned here to Hanscom. What made you want to, because I know when you work in retail, because I used to work in retail, there's a mindset that you have to have, that seller's mindset. You got to be able to make things happen, develop those relationships.
Absolutely.
How were you able to parlay that to the job that you're doing now as a program manager?
I think you learn a lot of soft skills working in retail, as you would know.
Yeah.
Like it's not even, because it's sales, so it's not even necessarily about knowing the product. It's about how can you interact with people. And program management is very similar to that in a sense. I took a leadership class here on base recently, and they talked about that. They had surveyed, this is more for supervisors, but they had surveyed like a large group of supervisors, and the average supervisor was like 70% of their job is managing the people,
Right.
and 30% is doing their actual job on paper.
Right.
So the soft skills is really what's transferable in that sense.
Do you feel like, let me see, let's go here. So what situations were you put in where you had to develop those soft skills, where you had to know how to interact with people, or you had to learn how to manage different personalities? Like, what were some of the things that you went through, whether it was in college or working in retail or whatever? Like, what happened where you were able to develop those soft skills?
Yeah, I think when people try to reflect on what they learned, they always think about the challenges that they had,
Yeah.
which is always a learning experience,
Right.
learning through adversity, but also you have to look at the successes that you had. So like situations where if I'm selling and I make like a really huge sale, like, okay, like what went right about that? What are
Right.
like, how was I able to resonate with somebody? Or even here at work now, if you have a big success and you know, complete something, you know, what did you do right in that situation? So celebrating your accomplishments and learning from those as well, so that you can repeat your success. I think that is something important to reflect on as well, not just the challenges that you had where it's like, oh, I had a bad customer that wanted to argue with me, or
Yeah.
like they're hard-headed and don't want to listen or something. Like that's also important to reflect on, where it's like, okay, how do you get past that and,
Right.
and try to find a successful route navigating that.
Speaking of hard-headed, you work with a lot of military people.
Yeah. Well, actually, currently I don't really,
Oh, okay.
because I work in foreign military sales, so
Yeah.
we don't work with any active duty people. But
You've interacted.
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
had
of course, of
interactions
course.
with a lot of military people. What was your thought? What was your first thoughts when you first met that first Air Force bleed blue hard charger? What was your first thought when you met him? Like, what was?
I think it's just hard to understand because it's just not a life or doctrine I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that. Like I wouldn't fault anybody for that, but I think it's difficult to get across that divide sometimes. And I think that's something that all civilians struggle with.
Yeah.
I'm going to reference the leadership class I took again. A lady was talking about how when she first started her civilian service, she was like, I don't understand why I need to call my supervisor sir. She was like, I just didn't understand that. Like, she was like, in any of the other jobs I had in the past, if I was doing something that wasn't for the military, like they wouldn't make me call them sir or ma'am.
Yeah.
And I think that's funny too when people call me sir or ma'am. It's well mannered and whatnot, but I don't know. It's just something that most people are used to, so it's like I just don't get it.
Could you see yourself joining the military?
I thought about it before. When I was looking at colleges, I like very briefly looked at joining the academy.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because at that time I was like, I don't think that the military route is where I'm gonna go career wise.
Right.
I mean, look where I am now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so maybe if I could see into the future, I would have pursued going to the academy or something. So I think that's ironic. But yeah, no, I thought about it. I think that it's a great opportunity that a lot of people leverage, and even civilian service. I think that, you know, it doesn't really get a lot of publicity. I think it's like an if you know kind of club,
Right.
where it's like if you don't have like a family member that worked in this world or someone close to you, like you don't even know it exists. When people ask what I do for work and I try to explain it to them, it's just like way over their head, which I think is interesting. And I can understand, like, it's for the amount of people that work in the field, it's a niche field. Like, it's not very publicized.
Yeah. Speaking of, you know, you have to know people and, you know, be in the know. You started an internship here at Hanscom in 2021. Kind of like talk about how you found out about it, or how you even were able to navigate to get to that opportunity.
So my dad works here on base.
Nice.
He's a advise and assist contractor. He's an engineer.
Okay.
So when I was in college, he was like, you know, like they have internships on base, so you should look into what they have and apply to some. And of course, you know, being like a hard-headed kid, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm already applying to internships of my own, but I guess, you know. So I applied to one. My first internship here on base was a student trainee. It's kind of like a admin assistant type of thing. They just put you wherever, and it's like a summer job. It's not bad. I mean, you make full-time pay, and so as a college kid, I'm like, this is awesome. Like having a regular job. The only thing that sucked was having to wake up early and come in, because my dad is like an early in, early out guy. So I remember waking up at like 5 in the morning every day. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is awful. And I had a second job that I worked weekends too, so it was just like no days off. But I started with that, and I worked at the Logistics Readiness Squadron here on base. That was really interesting because, you know, it wasn't related to what I studied at school at all. It was a very like blue collar, hands-on career field. But if I hadn't done that internship, I wouldn't have known anything about what they do and how they support the base and whatnot. And then the internship that I had that was program management related, I got into that so once again, my dad was like, so they have these other like more career field specific internships that one of his coworkers told him about. So I applied a year early actually. And they're like, sorry, this is for people that are in their like last summer of college. So if you just finished your junior year, and I applied the year before that, and I was like, oh, whoops, okay, I didn't know that. And then I forgot about it. But they had reached back out to me the following year, and they're like, hey, you submitted your resume last year. Like, would you still be interested in doing this? And I was like, that's pretty nice. Yeah, sure. So it was one of those things, like my parents got their I told you so moment where they're like, it doesn't hurt to apply. It doesn't hurt to submit your resume. And it came full circle, and I ended up working here as an intern. So that's really where it took off.
What was the worst moment you had interacting with a military member?
The worst moment?
Yeah, where you were like, okay, I see why people call you guys crazy.
Honestly, I haven't had any. Okay. Like, I haven't really had any bad moments. Okay. Luckily. I mean, who knows what might happen the rest of my career. I mean, people hear tons of horror stories of people, you know, going crazy, face turned red, screaming at them and whatnot. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. But I haven't had anything like that. So, I mean, knock on wood, it stays that way.
Yeah. What did you want to do? You know, what was your dream when you first graduated college? What was the thing that you were set to do?
Well, before I graduated college, I was an economics major and business analytics minor. And I thought I was going to be like a finance guy when I graduated college.
Finance bro, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I thought I was going to be like a finance bro. I thought I was going to stay in New York, have my nice apartment somewhere in Manhattan, work for like one of the big five or something. And well, it also made sense because a lot of the other people that were like in my department and in my peers in college, that's also what they were looking at. And the kids at my school that graduated from econ would be like financial analysts or be actual economists and go work for the Fed or go work for Bloomberg or JP Morgan Chase or something like that. So it was like what I had seen and where I thought the route was going to take me in terms of my studies. Well, to backtrack even a little more, I was looking at econ as a major because you can do a lot of stuff with it. And I was like, I don't want to, you know, hurt myself by choosing a really niche major and being like, oh, I don't like it. And, you know, it's harder to switch or you got to do like summer classes or like an extra year of school or something to figure out what you want to do. But, yeah, so the same summer that I'd started my program management related internship here, I was also looking at finance internships, and I had an interview with Bloomberg, and you know they're a huge finance company, so they send out all their company culture stuff, why Bloomberg is the greatest, and why you want to come work there, and all this stuff about, you know, what are the offices like and what are they going to expect of you. And in one of the videos they had showed the inside of their offices in one of their downtown offices, and it was just like, do you know what a Bloomberg terminal is?
I do not.
It's like a specific like setup to do like financial analyst work. It's like a dual monitor thing with like a specific software. But they showed the office, and it was just like hundreds of Bloomberg terminals like lined up next to each other. And it like gave me a bad vibe. It looked like a scene out of the Matrix or something, and it just gave me a bad vibe. And I was like, I was like, okay, like I'm gonna keep a mental note of that. And I was like, I'm just gonna go along with the internship. Like if I don't get it, like, you know, no harm, no foul. It doesn't hurt to try at least. And in the interview, I'm going through the questions. It's one of those things, they give you a bunch of prompts and you like record yourself answering, and there's some analysis stuff. They ask you to read some essays and economic reports ahead of time and make an analysis about it. And one of the questions, I don't even remember what the question was, but I was just answering it in the back of my head. I'm like, this is not right. I'm like, it was just not sitting well with me at all. I was like, this is not right. And in the middle of the interview, I just closed my laptop and walked away. I was like, nah, I was like, honestly, like, this is just not for me. And that caused like a slight moment of panic, because I was like, the last like 3 years of school, like, this is what I thought I was gonna do. And then I had the opportunity to actually get my feet wet with it, and it just like totally icked me out. And I was like, nah, I can't do this. So I'm like, well, I got another year to figure out where I want to go. I'm lucky that I had the internship here and that I liked the line of work and had a future with a career here. So it all worked out in the end.
Do you see yourself being in the civil service long term, or do you more so see it as like a stepping stone to maybe, I don't know, if you want to be that finance bro, or, you know what I mean? Like, what do you view where you're at now?
I hope to stick with it long term. I like it. The funny thing that a lot of people will tell you, they're like, oh, go be a contractor. Like, you can do the same thing. Yeah,
you can make some money.
Like, you can do the same thing and make some money. That's always a possibility in the future. You know, I always get messages on LinkedIn because it's just like recruiters looking. They're like, oh, Hanscom program manager, like, come work for our contracting business, because obviously they're trying to win contracts and support different programs and whatnot. So maybe in the future, I don't know. I'm going to stick with the government service for now. I like it. It's fulfilling for me. And I mean, there are other perks that just come with being a federal civilian in general. Like, if you can stick around for your 20 years and you get your good pension and you get good benefits, and it's generally a secure job. So it does have its benefits. So you don't want to, I don't want to say mess up a good thing by changing your career, but you know, it's steady. So,
what is your favorite thing about being from Boston?
I think the pride that people have in their city, and I think Boston as a city is really cool because it like punches above its weight class, is what I tell everybody. Like, when you really look at the size of Boston and the population, it's like there aren't even 1 million people that live in Boston. Like, it's pretty small.
Don't feel like
you can walk across downtown in like a half hour. Like, it's a pretty small city, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I see what you mean.
But in terms of its impact, like culturally, I mean, people compare it to like New York City, which is like one of the most influential cities on the planet. So it's like, okay, that clearly Boston is doing something right. If that's the conversation that it's in. So I don't know. I really appreciate that. On a less serious note, I think having like 4 seasons is nice. Stuff like that. Being on the coast is nice. I love going down like by the harbor in the summer. I think it's like a really, really nice vibe. Having like a beer and looking over the harbor. That's like my perfect summer moment. Some seafood, a beer, and looking over the Boston Harbor. Every year I yearn for that.
Speaking of seafood, I have a question, personal question.
Yeah.
Why is everything all lobster rolls and crab?
Because we got the best seafood in the country. That's what it is.
No, I have to disagree with you there. You know, look, I'm being from the South. I mean, we got the Gulf. We got that Gulf seafood. Shrimp, crawfish. You ever had crawfish before?
I have, yeah.
Crawfish, catfish. Look, I give y'all the lobsters. I give y'all all that. I give y'all the rolls. Y'all got good beer. But when it comes to the seafood, the South is where it is.
Yeah. I mean, y'all can throw down in the South.
Hey. But, you know, being here in Hanscom, you know, what is some advice would you give someone who might be coming from a place like the South or Midwest or somewhere where it's not as populated, it's not as dense? Like, what advice would you give that person when they're coming here?
In terms of coming to the area in general?
Yeah, coming to the area, how to adapt to the area. You know, if they want to embrace the culture, like what do they need to do to properly embrace the culture? And not, you know, a lot of people when they get to a new place, they a little overbearing and they overdo it a little bit. Like, what type of advice would you give someone who just to kind of meld and mesh?
Try new things and don't feel like the city is like your only option to really enjoy out here. Like New England is well known for its nature.
Yeah.
And I think the one of the biggest advantages of living in the New England area is you can get to other states and go see other stuff very easily.
Yeah.
Like depending on where you live, New Hampshire is only like a half hour from here, you know what I mean? So it's like you can go somewhere else very easy. Like you can take day trips and go hiking in the White Mountains and whatnot. So taking advantage of other stuff that's around, don't feel like it's Boston or nothing. Like it can feel like there's nothing out there because you might not know what's out there.
Right.
So yeah, I would just say like explore, try new things, especially when the weather is nice. Because as soon as it gets cold again,
It's a wrap.
you're not going anywhere.
It's a wrap.
You're not going anywhere as soon as it gets cold again. Yeah.
Do you have any regrets?
Not really, no. I think I don't know. Sometimes I think on certain things, like how I mentioned, there's an alternate universe where I'm still living in New York. Like I don't regret that decision, but sometimes I reflect on stuff where I'm like, I wonder what would have happened if I chose path 1 instead of path 2 or something.
Right.
But no, I mean, I'm blessed to be where I'm at now. I'm not unhappy with my situation. I have great friends, great family, good steady job. So I don't know. I can't regret the decisions I made to get here because I feel like I'm in a good spot. I feel very lucky.
I'll give you one more. What advice would you give 17-year-old Andrew who's about to graduate high school, who's about to start off on his journey to do great things? What is one piece of advice would you give him before he starts to take those steps?
That's good. Do your homework. I'm kidding, but I don't know. I would say like don't stress yourself out too much. Like you'll figure it out. I think even now sometimes I get stressed about how do I get to where I want to be in like 20 years or something, and it's like 20 years is 20 years away. Like you can't always be caught up in that. Like enjoy the time you have now with your friends and your family. Life doesn't always get easier for you, and when you think about the stuff that you were stressed about back when you were 17, it's inconsequential now. So it's like don't lose sleep or beat yourself up over those things. Just appreciate what you have in the moment.
That's very sentimental. That's very sentimental. Hey man, I appreciate you for stopping by, man. I really do,
thank you. It's good being on the show. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. That's a wrap.